Let me ask you something. When you apply for a job, who do you think you're trying to impress? A hiring manager, a recruiter? Well, what if I told you your biggest competition isn't even human anymore? The entire game of getting hired has been turned upside down, and the new gatekeeper is an algorithm. So, how do we get here? And more importantly, what does this mean for your career? Let's break it down. Just think about this for a second. By next year, a staggering 83% of companies will be using artificial intelligence to screen resumes. That's right. That means for the vast majority of jobs you apply for, a machine is making the first cut. This brings up a critical question we all need to be asking ourselves. Is it a seasoned professional looking for talent and potential, or is it just a piece of code scanning for keywords? We're about to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, first, let's get a real sense of the scale of this, because this isn't some niche trend happening in a few tech companies in Silicon Valley. This is the new standard operating procedure for hiring pretty much across the globe. Check this out. Right now, as we speak, 91% of employers are already using AI to streamline their hiring process. And this goes way beyond just reading your resume. We're talking about everything from scheduling your interviews to analyzing your facial expressions in a video submission. So what is this thing, really? Well, think of AI resume screening as an automated bouncer for your job application. It uses machine learning to digitally rip apart your resume, extract all the data, and then rank you against every other applicant. It's the very first filter. And honestly, most applications never ever make it past this digital doorman. Now here's the thing. The big promise of AI in hiring was that it would finally eliminate human bias, right? That it would create this perfectly objective, merit-based process. But the reality? Well, the reality has turned out to be far more complicated, and in some cases, a whole lot worse. This quote right here absolutely nails the problem. See, these AI models, they learn from the data we feed them. And if that data is packed with decades of our own human biases, the AI doesn't just learn it, it amplifies it, it institutionalizes it, making old-school discrimination look like a neutral, data-driven decision. Let's look at probably the most famous real-world example of this going completely off the rails. We have to talk about Amazon's recruiting AI. Between 2014 and 2018, they tried to build an AI tool to automate their hiring. The goal was simple: find the best talent faster. So what happened? The AI was trained on 10 years of Amazon's own hiring data, which, surprise, was predominantly male. The result? The AI literally taught itself that male candidates were preferable. It started penalizing resumes that included the word women's, like in Women's Chess Club. It even systematically downgraded graduates from 2 all-women's colleges. It got so bad that Amazon's own engineers couldn't figure out how to fix the bias, and in the end, they had to scrap the entire project. And look, this wasn't just a one-off problem with Amazon. More recent research, this time from Stanford University, shows how these very same biases are getting baked right into the most powerful AI models that we all use today. So get this. Researchers found that when large language models, things like ChatGPT, create hypothetical resumes, they automatically make the resumes for women seem younger and less experienced than the ones for men. But then, when they asked the same AI to rate those resumes, it gave higher scores to the older men. It's this insane feedback loop that just reflects and then amplifies existing cultural biases, systematically putting older women at a huge disadvantage. And the problem doesn't stop with gender and age. A new and, frankly, pretty insidious form of bias is now popping up against neurodivergent individuals. They're calling it Emergent Ableism. Here's how it works. Those AI video interviews and personality tests, they're often trained on data from neurotypical people. This means that traits common in neurodivergent individuals, like less direct eye contact or natural pauses in speech, can be automatically flagged by the system as low engagement or a lack of confidence. So you have these brilliant, qualified candidates being screened out not because they can't do the job, but because they don't conform to some pre-programmed algorithmic idea of normal. So how are people responding to this new reality? Well, it's created a completely dysfunctional, escalating technological conflict, a hiring arms race between job seekers and employers. It's not about finding the best fit anymore. It's about winning a war of optimization. This slide lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have candidates using AI to write these keyword-stuffed resumes just to get past the bots. And on the other side, companies are deploying even more powerful AI to sift through the flood of these bot-generated applications.
It's a vicious circle where both sides are using the same technology to try and outsmart each other. And the outcome of this arms race is pure chaos. Hiring managers are now buried under a mountain of nearly identical resumes. It's become incredibly difficult to separate the candidates who are genuinely qualified from those who have simply mastered the art of prompt engineering. The signal is completely lost in the noise.
Now, you'd think the regulators would step in, but the response has been slow and contradictory. New York City passed a landmark law requiring bias audits, but a recent report found its enforcement to be ineffective. Meanwhile, federal actions have sought to limit state-level rules. It's created this patchwork of confusing and often toothless regulations. For you, the job seeker, this means you simply can't rely on the system to be fair. The law can't keep up.
So, given this complicated, frankly messy landscape, what can you actually do to get your resume in front of a human being? Let's get into some practical, actionable advice. This is your survival guide.
Here is a 4-step plan. 1. Build a keyword bank. Go through the job description, pull out 10 to 15 key terms, and weave them naturally into your resume. 2. Quantify everything. Don't say improved sales. Say increased quarterly sales by 23%. AI loves concrete numbers. 3. Keep your formatting simple and clean for the applicant tracking systems, or ATS. Stick to standard fonts and layouts. And 4, this is crucial. Tailor every single application. A few highly targeted resumes will always beat 100 generic ones.
And where you apply really matters. This data is pretty eye-opening. While sites like LinkedIn and Indeed are incredibly popular, Google Jobs actually has a response rate that's nearly 3 times higher. This suggests that applying on less saturated platforms can give you a significant edge. And let's not forget the human cost of this system. Facing constant rejection from an invisible, silent algorithm, it can be incredibly demoralizing. It's a struggle that millions of people are dealing with right now, a frustration that comes from trying to play a game where the rules are hidden and always changing.
So the crucial point is this. In a world flooded with AI-generated resumes and filtered by algorithms, the things a machine can't replicate, genuine human connection, authenticity, a unique voice, are no longer just soft skills, they are your most powerful tactical advantages. They are how you opt out of this arms race entirely.
And that leaves us with a final thought. As these algorithmic systems become more and more entrenched in our professional lives, perhaps the most essential career skill of the 21st century isn't just what you know, but how effectively you can navigate or even bypass the machines standing in your way.